Okay, friends, now we have another very exciting presentation, and this is from EPC industry, engineering, procurement, and construction. And speaker is Mr. Ravi Kumar Achanta, and he doesn't need any introduction because he is the founder of Lean Management Institute of India. He started this Lean Management Institute in 2008 or slightly before, and he is the whole creator of this organization. Many of the publications that you see was brought out by him, and then after that he has gone to L&T and practiced it. And he is going to share with you some of the practices that he has done there. And I think very rare example will be there in the construction industry implementation of Lean. So, Ravi?
Thank you, Dubeyji, for that very glowing kind of introduction. Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Not yet. I was just checking. Right. So what I'm going to talk to you about is about my experiments in this huge $14 billion organization, almost overwhelming in size, and even the products, or let us say our projects and what you see are landmarks. We say that we used to say that we make things that make India proud. So whether it is massive steel plants or metro projects or high-rise projects, huge projects with number of towers over 50, 60 floors high, and whether it is highways or whether it is refineries, and or whether it is in hydrocarbon we are present in upstream, mid and downstream, so it includes all the drilling and deep sea infrastructure that is there. And we are also into aerospace, that is for rockets and nuclear power plants, you name it, and L&T is some sort of a preferred contractor when there's anything large and complex to be constructed. So this is about engineering, procurement, and construction. So that's what this EPC over here stands for. There could be other expansions of that, but we are talking about engineering, procurement, and construction. L&T also has a large manufacturing sort of component, but right now we are not going to talk as much about manufacturing. In fact, though I've got a background in manufacturing, I've done very little work in manufacturing in L&T. The focus has been really on the projects business. And out of the 14-15 billion turnover that I'm talking about, comprising of 12 independent companies and about 70 business units, my exposure in detail has been to about maybe 5 independent companies, and I've worked very closely with about 3 of them. So this is really my experience of how I applied whatever I've learned from Dr. Womack, Dan Jones, and John Shook, and other eminent Lean sensei, including my previous, when I was with Maruti, there were a lot of Japanese experts, and there were trips to Japan and so on. So whatever I've learned, I thought that there's a good opportunity to apply it here. So this is going to be the flow, and this presentation will be very short. Actually, I've got only 1 or 2 slides to show, honestly, because that's really the crux of the whole thing. But still, I'll be showing about 10, 11 slides and talking through, and maybe taking questions, and hopefully we'll gain whatever time we have lost. Right. So first I'll talk about all the excuses that we have for bleeding profits and not doing as well as shareholders expect. Our projects are long drawn, 2 years, 4 years, many things change, and sometimes the customer himself has lost interest in the project and he wants us to go slow. So there could be many reasons why projects get delayed. And very often we successfully wriggle out of that because the blame lies with the customer. We say, you didn't give us that approval, you didn't do that, you didn't do. So you need to pay us for all the marching we did and all the waiting we did. Each project is different. We thrive in our diversity. We don't have one universal operational excellence model which is applicable to all businesses, and everybody falls in line, there is a score and so on. So nothing of that sort. Each business is free to pursue its own route, and the usual route and the sort of recognized route to take is to hire a consultant. And we have the world's best, maybe 3 out of the top 5 consultants working with us at any point in time, all the time. And they would work in strategy, operations, HR, leadership, you name it, and the consultants are all there. In addition, we have all the world's best technical consultants also involved with some of our mega projects. In fact, nowadays the trend is, if there's a long, big, high-value project, you hire a management consultant to help you run that project. So I'm one of those, many consultants, and I'm like an internal consultant who works on pull. So we have a team, we place our people along with the external consultants as well as take up independent projects. So a lot of excuses. Each business is different, as I said. So many locations, each with their own complexities, and very often right of ways, clearances. There are so many reasons why our projects would not progress or get completed on time. Then there is a question of workforce. In theory, India has a large workforce, but whenever you want a particular skill, that skill is not available. Like for example, you won't get good carpenters, or you have a shortage of welders, or you have a shortage of riggers who can go to heights and work at 200 or 100 meter, 150 meter height. And these power plants and all, the really very, very tall structures. So there's always a shortage of skilled manpower. And what tends to happen is, in any project there are multiple work fronts that open up. And usually when those work fronts open up, there's no overall thought given to how much of manpower is